Good afternoon, Tallahassee. This is student meteorologist Priscilla Vijalta, and we are taking a look at Hurricane Helene, which is rapidly approaching the Florida Big Bend. Currently, Helene is sitting off the coast of the west coast of Florida, and it's projected to rapidly intensify. Winds are currently at 105 miles an hour, moving north-northeast at 14 miles an hour, and it could potentially speed up. And so just remember, these warm Gulf waters are definitely fuel enough for potential for rapid intensification. So remember, pressure is currently at 960 millibars, and it is potential to go even lower. So we've got our aircraft recon right now, which is showing winds along the outer bands at 31 miles an hour. And remember, that's just on the outer edges of this storm. But once you move closer to the eye, winds are picking up, and we've even seen winds as high as 105 miles an hour. And just remember, Category 3 is at 111 miles an hour. So we are definitely very close to that cusp of Category 3 status. And we definitely still do not want to rule out a Category 4 landfall. It all depends on the current track and if the winds continue to speed up as it is. As for our cone, the cone has gotten rapidly smaller as time goes on, so that's showing the agreements between the different models for Helene, and we're definitely seeing much of a northerly track right through the Big Bend, through Tallahassee. Could shift eastward a little bit, moving in towards Perry and the Cedar Key area right here, but we're definitely still going to feel those effects here in town, Tallahassee, no matter if it's Category 3, Category 4, or if the cone and landfall moves east or west a little bit. Right now, there's a lot of agreements, and we are still currently at Category 2 status. So definitely things to keep in mind as we move forward, and that's where we're at currently right now. But now Daniela is going to give us a further look at our watches and warnings.
Thank you, Priscilla. So yes, there is a lot of different threats going to with Helene. And again, here's another look at our models right now favoring a more easterly landfall. Still, parts of the Tallahassee area cannot be ruled out. We're still going to see those effects through tonight as well. So we're definitely still expecting hurricane conditions, those wind threats and flood threats. It's definitely storm surge threats across the coast, very deadly and catastrophic. So even if we do have models towards the east, Tallahassee's still going to feel those effects. And the whole state of Florida is feeling effects as well. So right now, almost the whole entire peninsula is under a tropical storm warning. And those tropical storm warnings are even extending as far north as all the way the whole entire state of Georgia and South Carolina as well. Those hurricane warnings are going all the way from Cedar Key to Port St. Joe, reaching almost nearly as north as Macon, Georgia. So we're going into central Georgia with those hurricane force winds, and that is because Helene is expected to be a very fast-moving storm. So yes, the benefit of that is that it's going to go in and out, but it's going to weaken slower, and those hurricane force winds are going to continue to go farther north. Now, as the outer bands approach the Big Bend in central Florida as well, really the whole peninsula, it is under a tornado watch. We've even had quite a few tornado warnings already throughout yesterday and this morning across South Florida, Central Florida, and even here in the Big Bend, we even had waterspouts reported in Carabel, tornado warnings in Liberty County previously as well. And also the huge threat, most deadly threat right now is storm surge. Values up to 15 to 20 feet are possible between Homosassa and Carabel, and even up to 12 feet just north of Tampa and parts of Apalachicola. Regardless, this is the maximum amounts that can occur at high tide, but regardless, even if we're lower, we're going to see 10 to 15 feet of storm surge, and that is still very deadly and very catastrophic, causing a lot of damage throughout the state. But we will get to Peter about other warnings and evacuations.
Yeah, so because of those very severe storm surge that we're expecting that Daniela just talked about, we do have mandatory evacuations, especially for coastal counties here in the Big Bend. In Dixie County and Taylor County, Wakulla, Liberty, Franklin, all have mandatory evacuations right now. So if you are in those locations, you're running out of time to get out because tropical storm force winds are going to make their way into the area starting within the next hour or so. We do also have mandatory evacuations for manufactured homes and mobile homes in counties further inland, and then also some voluntary evacuation orders going up towards the Georgia border. And that's because of this big wind radii that we have here. This is the main reason that the storm surge is going to be as bad as we think it will be, because this is a massive storm, okay? This is very large compared to what you would normally expect with a hurricane. You see this orange area right here is the radius of hurricane force winds, and that is much larger than you would expect. And we have tropical storm force winds all the way in Miami right now, all the way across this peninsula, and it's only going to get bigger. And so the entire state, that is why the entire state is under tropical storm warnings and hurricane warnings as far inland as Georgia as well. And you can see in this forecast max wind gusts, we have up to 50 miles an hour in Carabel, and then as it moves through, 102 mile an hour wind gusts in Perry is what this model is showing. And so this is really damaging wind. So you need to make sure that you are in a safe space in your house, because trees will come down with this kind of wind. Even in Tallahassee, 54 mile an hour gusts, possibly even more. Again, this depends on what the track takes. But 66 miles an hour in Valdosta as well. That's all the way in Georgia. We are going to see these strong winds. So you need to make sure that you're aware of this and be in a safe space as this hurricane approaches, as we move into the overnight hours tonight. And then as we look at the rain forecast as well, again, this is just one model, but we are seeing a possibility for over 4 inches of rain in Tallahassee, over 4.5 in Albany, Georgia. So we are going to also see a lot of rainfall throughout the region. We have had a lot of rain recently, and that means the ground is very saturated right now. And so any more rain that does fall, especially if it comes in really quickly, is going to lead to some potential flash flooding. So that's another thing that we are watching with this storm, is the threat for those flash flooding alerts. And as you can see, this is the future radar, which Matt is going to talk about.
Yeah, as we look at the future radar here, you can see as it spins up past Tallahassee and opens up into Georgia here into the Carolinas, you're going to see all that heavy rain is going to push off to the north and continue to move in north, and then eventually start moving northeast towards St. Louis and Memphis, where it will continue to hold out as that rain will just dump tons and tons of rain into those areas. So be aware of that. If you are in those areas, make sure you have preparations in place for that rain, as it will continue to move into Cincinnati and continue to bring lots of rain to those areas. So make sure you have preparations in place for some potential flash floods as they do move across those states into those different cities. And as we look at Doak here, as you can see right now, it's cloudy. It doesn't seem great, but the rain and the wind is coming if it's not already here. The wind will start picking up in the next hour or two, and we will continue to monitor that here. But as you can see, the rain has been raining most of the day, and it will start picking up as those bands start getting closer and closer to home. As we look at Shell Point, Florida, you can see the rain and the wind will continue to pick up in this area as well as Helene continues to get closer to us. So be aware of those winds picking up, as that will be your sign to make sure there's nothing left to preparation, as you should be ready and hunkered down already. And as we look at St. George Island, you can see the rain is already starting to affect that area, as we'll be watching that lighthouse for our preparations as to what is going on and what is going on in that weather area, as the wind will start picking up and the rain will continue to come into those areas as the storm comes ashore. And I'm going to turn over to Ryan as we have some interesting news happening right now.
Yeah, new tornado warnings just got posted for Calhoun and Liberty County. That's going to be not far from us here in Tallahassee. So let's take a zoom on into that with our radar and track out this tornado warning. This tornado warning is going to be going until, I lost the time, 2 p.m. All right, so it's going to be going until 2 p.m. Let me get the warning turned on, and then we can take a look at this in the radar. All right, so there's where the tornado warning is right here. It's kind of going to be northeast of Carabel. Let's zoom in and take a look at it. And again, it's going to be going until 2 o'clock. If we switch back, we can see our velocity. There's a couplet right here. If we zoom all the way in here, that's where that couplet's going to be right near. That's going to be 65 in Liberty County. So it's really a small area of rotation on radar, but it does have that low green and red coming together. It's going to have enough spin in the atmosphere for this tornado warning to be issued. So again, we're going to be tracking that until about 2 o'clock is when the warning is going. So another 20 minutes. Not a lot of people live out this way, but if you are in this path of the tornado, it's going to be not far from Weewahatchee, just a couple miles east of Weewahatchee, and it's going to be moving, if we just put into motion, we can see it's going to be moving kind of northwest almost along this feeder band here. So let's switch back to our normal radar that we're used to looking at, and then we can kind of go from there. So here's normal radars. So if we have a tornado somewhere within this storm, it's going to be rain wrapped, right? There's not a lot of tropical tornadoes are going to be rain wrapped because there's not a lot of well-defined hooks, not a lot of shear within this. They're just quick spin-ups, and I think that's what's going on here, right near 65 here. We can pop on debris tracker. Not a lot to see, obviously, because it's just a lot of rain. So I don't think we have any debris on the ground right now, but again, there is that possibility for rotation as it's going to be moving to the north and west. So again, just keeping in mind that this tornado warning is going to be approaching Bluntstown here in the next little bit. Just kind of on track for Bluntstown, and it is going to be going until 2 o'clock this afternoon. Could be extended, but that is something we want to keep an eye on. I think over the next few hours is when we could be dealing with more of the tornado warnings, and then as we get later into the day is when we're going to be dealing with the severe weather. So let me switch over and just take a look at all the watches and warnings for the area. Again, we've got this tornado watch in dark red, and then there's where our tornado warning is going to be approaching 65 right here. There's Bluntstown, there's Weewahatchee. So if you're kind of in between Weewahatchee and Bluntstown, that's where you're going to want to be paying attention to for this tornado warning. We'll have more updates for you throughout the afternoon here on FSU Weather. And then if we need to hop on YouTube or something again, we will. But we will see you in a little bit here with the latest on hurricane.